This is Mari Robeson of Love Lulu Creative, a podcast that supports and celebrates artists and creative entrepreneurs. This is episode number 48. I have such a treat for you today. On today's show, I have the very talented Diane Wagner. Diane is a writer, an actress, and an educator. And on today's show, we are talking all about her new book, The Almighty Father. So good. I finished it last night, and I am telling you, it is such a great book, and it's such a fun read. If you are looking for a little escape from all the wackiness going on in the world right now, this book is it. I will put a link to it in the show notes so you can purchase it, and also the links to where you can follow Diane Wagner also in the show notes. But I'm telling you, this book is so good. And not only it was just such a treat because I thought I was interviewing her about just the book, but she's also an incredible actress. So we did have to, of course, I had to talk about that as well. We talked about her latest film. It was called Getting Grace, and she played Mary in that film, and that it was just amazing to me. And she also has written and produced and acted in her own pilot called Goody Goody, which I got to see the trailer. It's hilarious, and I hope somebody picks it up because it's the type of entertainment that I just enjoy so much, and which means I'm sure a lot of people do. So I hope that she gets that picked up as well. But mainly we talk about this really fun book, The Almighty Father, and she kind of shares her journey about how she created it, and we talk a little about the characters and just the whole evolution of it all. It's just fascinating, and I know that you guys will really enjoy just listening to her. She's just quite lovely and full of great advice and information. So if you are enjoying these episodes, please hit that subscribe button and please share it with your creative friends. We sure need more creativity out in the world, and all of the guests that I have on these shows are really sharing valuable advice on how they're doing it. So yeah, please share away. And that's it. Stay tuned for this really super interesting episode with the incredibly talented Diane Wagner. Hi, Diane. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. It's going to be hard to keep this to a short conversation because I have so many questions for you and you've done so many things, but so I'll do my best, but thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it is truly my pleasure. I appreciate it so much. I've been eager to speak with you.
Yay. And first of all, we have to give a huge shout out to our mutual, amazingly talented friend, illustrator, actor, piano player, to our friend Tug Rice.
All around Renaissance man, right?
Yes, that's a great description for him. So he told me that you were his acting teacher. Is that?
I was. We are now, oh gosh, 15 years into our friendship, which started, shortly after he graduated from high school. So I was his teacher in high school. I teach at a performing arts high school in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's called the Lehigh Valley Charter High School for the Arts.
Yes.
And Tug was a student of mine in the early days. And like so many of my students, we keep in touch, when they graduate. And we just formed such a friendship that really collaborating on countless projects.
I just think that's so great. And I've done a lot of teaching in my life too. And it's so fun to watch your students grow up and be successful in everything that they wanted to do. And you could tell those ones in the early on, you're like, ooh, like I knew with Tug when he started, I'm like, I know you are going to be a star.
Oh, yes. So I had to hold on to him, I'm riding his coattails now.
Yeah. Hey, me too. I like that idea. I had to throw his name around. There you go. Okay, so you are a writer, obviously, an actress, and an educator. You covered that you do. You're the director of theater over there, right, at the high school?
Yes. Yep.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be able to give back all your talent there. And you live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Now, is that where you grew up, or where are you originally from?
It is where I grew up, and it amazes me every day that I am here again because when I left here in the mid '90s, I thought I shall never return. You know how we all feel when we leave,
Right, right.
right? And yet, life is funny like that, and somehow it formed a circle
Right.
and brought me right back here to where I belong, to where I found so many important things that really built up my life.
Well, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but it is interesting that you based the book is based there, basically.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you actually used the name of your hometown. I can imagine like people reading the book, like that must be really interesting for them.
You know, it's interesting because it is a work of fiction, but of course it's inspired by a great many truthful things. That's how fiction is, I think. But
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
my choice to keep it in Bethlehem, I think, had a lot to do with biblical references, and you know, the fact that that I actually did grow up in a place called Bethlehem. You
Yeah,
know, and there are many ways in which that plays a part in the story, I think.
I know, and I cannot wait to get into that. But for
Yeah.
I cannot wait to talk about that. So interesting. But okay, so you grew up there and you are there, but you went off to college. So you have a Bachelor of Arts in English and an MFA in acting.
Yes.
So was that the goal always? Were you thinking, I'm going to grow up and be a writer and an actress? Was that your plan?
That was never the plan. I thought, you know, that I would be an actress and that I could only be an actress. I thought that might be my only gift, you know, in this lifetime. And I was grateful for it. I think I'm so glad that I found that piece of me at a young age, and I was guided to it by a teacher. You know, who saw something in me in like an early drama class in ninth grade, um, you know, and really helped to guide me.
And your parents were supportive of you becoming an actress?
Sure, you know, I think,
What do you mean, sure? I
you
don't
know,
think that's many people's stories. It wasn't my story, that's for sure.
well, I'll say this. You know, I think they didn't really have an opinion one way or the other. You know, my parents were kind of just like, find your way, you
I
know?
love that. That's great.
Yeah. You know, and remarkably, I did end up finding my way through that.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
So then why English? Why did you choose to major in English in undergrad school?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I started my undergrad as a theater major,
Oh, okay.
you know, knowing full well that all I ever wanted to do was act. Um, and I got a few months in and I got rattled. You know, I didn't feel like the star of that program, and I couldn't find my place in it, and I got a little shook up, and I gave up, which is a theme, unfortunately or fortunately, because
Mm.
it led me to an English degree, and I think I just leaned into that because of how much I loved reading and stories. You know,
Right,
that's the other part of acting. And
right.
so I just found my way there, and I'm grateful for it.
Isn't that interesting? So that many
Mhm.
years later that you end up using both, which is so, it's such a great marriage between the two, which is just fascinating because that's a good note to younger students that are starting out. Like if this doesn't look like it's working out, it's probably working out. Just trust
Yes.
it. Go with
Yeah. The
it.
road to success has a lot of bends,
Yes,
right?
yes,
A lot of twisty turns.
exactly,
Just keep
exactly.
going.
good thing to tell someone because a lot of people don't know that. They think, I'm just going to do this and it's going to be easy.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so you do kind of, it looks like you go more into acting after school though, other than writing. So after you graduate, what happened then?
Well, I was so fortunate to get my MFA at Louisiana State University, where I just met so many amazing people, and I was able to get an equity card and work as an actress professionally and do all kinds of exciting things as an actor. Eventually, that led me to teaching acting. That was part of my assistantship. I had to teach undergraduate courses. And again, teaching was not something I ever set out to do, but I came to it accidentally
Hmm.
as part of all the other stuff. And I think, the first class I ever taught at LSU, there I was teaching a college course. That was my first teaching experience.
Wow.
But it was a great fit. I felt
Mhm.
very comfortable in that.
Hmm.
And that led me down a whole new path.
Well, and it's interesting too, because like teaching, you're in front of people, you're speaking, you're engaging an audience. It's also kind of similar to everything. It all
Yes.
goes together. Um,
Yeah.
well, I watched the trailer too. I remember when this movie came out, Getting Grace, and I just recently watched the trailer to it, and I'm crying watching it, and it looks so good. And like, wow, these are like big deals. Like these are big movies.
Oh, I have to tell you, Mari, I am I am the luckiest person. I'm the luckiest artist because things the that for example, that film right there, which was this beautiful, brilliant film, and if you get
Yeah,
to see it, I have a lovely role, and it just landed here in my hometown.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Not
and then
Hollywood.
not Hollywood, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Here we are
Wow,
again, right?
who
um,
knew?
I know, and it arrived at a time that it's hard when you have a full-time job as a teacher, to continue to work, to continue to book jobs as an actor, and yet there it was, it happened, and it was brilliant.
Yes.
It's a beautiful movie. So if for anyone who hasn't seen it, I believe it's available on Hulu still. It might be on Amazon Prime. Getting Grace, uh, written by, starring and directed by Daniel Roebuck, who is a wonderful actor and a friend.
I'm
And
gonna watch it this weekend. I just posted on my
oh,
Instagram, does anybody have a good movie to watch? And I watched that. I was like, oh my gosh, that was great. Um, so
you
yeah,
will love it. You will
I
love it.
can tell. So gosh, congratulations. And I love
Thank you.
your positivity and like I'm the luckiest person because that's um what a great way to just keep attracting great things to you. Okay, so I just also thank you for sending me the trailer to the pilot that you not only wrote and produced, but you acted in, and it looks hilarious.
Oh my God.
What is happening with that? It's called Goody Goody, and that's the kind of stuff I love to watch. Like I think over this whole year of being quarantined, like everybody's been glued to Netflix and Amazon Prime or whatever they've been watching their series on. But that would make that looks so fun. I hope it gets produced.
Gosh, I do too. You
Let's
know.
put it out to the universe. Netflix,
Yes,
are you listening?
please.
This is a great series.
Right. Who do we have here? Netflix, Hulu, anyone?
Anybody,
Um, yeah, no,
it was
it's so,
great.
oh, I'm so glad you like that. And if you want to see the spec pilot, I'm happy to share that with
Oh,
you.
I would love to see that. Yes, that would be very cool.
Well,
Um,
I always say this. Um, I just keep throwing things at the wall,
yes,
to see what sticks. And but I know your program is about having a life in the arts.
right.
And I turned 50 this past year, and I can look back on my life, gosh, with so much joy and yeah, so much appreciation because I have that with me always, that desire to create something new, to put something into the world that didn't exist until I thought of it.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's such a wonderful, passionate way to live.
Mm-hmm.
But Goody Goody is just it's another one of those things. We got a group of people together. Again, Tug, some other former students.
Was Tug
Um,
in that?
yes,
Oh my God, I
yes,
gotta watch that trailer again.
yes. In fact, we co-wrote it, and we're also we work on oh gosh, all kinds of different projects, the two of us. But that project, we just saw a lot of promise in it.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
too.
I think it was probably 2014. We were just feeling very ambitious. And we threw together this script. We got some people on board, some pretty cool people, with some notoriety. I'm not sure how we did that. And we made it happen. And again, Mari, we made it happen here in our community.
I love that. So,
Yeah.
what I kind of glean from all of that is that, just start creating like where you are. You don't have to be in Hollywood. You don't have to be in New York City to create something amazing. I mean, that's really powerful, actually. And
Yes.
that trailer, I love the humor. Like that's my type of humor. I think it's so witty and clever, and I just love it. So, well,
Oh,
that's so
good.
fun. I really, really want something to come of that. But okay, moving on now. So it's not any strange thing that you come to write a novel because you've been writing these stories already. You've been creating and thinking in that along that path. So this is the first novel that you've written, The Almighty Father, and I finished it last night. I was like sobbing
Oh,
by the time I ended it, and I thought to myself, thank you so much for writing something that has a happy ending. Because
wow. Good.
I see so many creators, like they create this body of work and then it's just so depressing at the end. And maybe that fulfills a lot of people like that. But for me, I'm a happy ending girl. And I like the way that when things uplift you in the end. And it was great. It was really, really great.
Good. I'm so glad that it moved you, and I'm so glad you like the way it ends, and that sat well with you. I think that's a hard thing to end a story like that.
I know. Okay. I don't want to reveal too much of it, but when there was the last, the car accident at the end, I was like, if she dies right now, I'm just gonna, I'm just,
Oh,
I'm like, this is not going to be okay. So I was really glad. No, and it is a spiritual awakening. It is kind of an evolution of that. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I would like you to kind of give me your elevator pitch on what the book is about.
Oh boy. Well, it's 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 about finding hope in a life that is tumultuous,
Hmm.
to say the least. I think we all suffer in different ways. Um, we all experience different things that hurt us or that stick with us and hold us back in life. And I tried to process through some of my own issues as I wrote this story. And, when you come to the end of a story like that, and you have to look back on a life that has, that's been peppered with trauma and tragedy, you can't forget that that was just a peppering, you know, that there are so many other elements that even though those hard things, those tragic moments carry such weight with us, we've got to go back to beauty and love. And if we are lucky enough to have love in our lives, and whether that comes from one family member, one beautiful, brilliant sibling, or a mother who will fight till the death, you know, to make you happy and whole, then be grateful.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful way of how I felt when I was reading it. So I have to ask you, did you grow up Catholic?
No, I didn't. My family was Lutheran.
Okay.
And that was cool. That was all good. You know, the Lutherans are very relaxed people. They still are. I still go to, my parents go to Lutheran church, and every now and again I'll pop in there, you know. They have a pastor that I find very relatable. But organized religion, I don't know, over my life it's been touch and go, you know. And I think throughout our lives, you know, and obviously the book touches on this, we are sent so many messages.
Right. And that's kind of where I was kind of going with it. It's actually funny. I actually went to St. Simon's. So for many years. So being raised Catholic and reading this book was very interesting. And I was kind of all the way to the end, seeing where you were going to go with that, because we just call it the Almighty Father. So there's, you know, the different fathers that you have throughout the book, but obviously you're talking about God throughout the book. And that limiting belief of having, like, when things are, be careful, if you're too happy, something bad's going to happen to you. And that was a belief that was taught to me. And so, I mean, I was reading this going, well, where's she going to go with this? Because that was something I processed through in my lifetime. Like, that's not true. It doesn't mean when you're happy about something bad's going to happen. Like the other shoe's always going to drop, you know, that
Right.
the whole thing. But I mean, I remember the nuns saying that to me, like, if you're laughing now, you'll be crying by the end of the day. And I was so scared and like, what do you mean? Like,
yes.
I mean, I don't think their intention was bad, but, you know, it was interpreted by me to, like, never let yourself get too happy about anything. So that felt was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like that was kind of her theme throughout the whole book. That whenever she had a happy moment was something that, you know, she felt guilty about it and something bad was going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. You brought up something too about, you know, maybe they didn't mean it this way, but this was how you interpreted it. Right. And you know, that is something that I take a look at too over the life of that character, the main character, Anna Bishop, who you know, when the book begins, Anna is a child, you know, and we really go through a lot of her childhood and look back on different memories. And as children, I think that's when religion is actually the hardest time for us to process through.
Right. Exactly.
It's there are some things that go on, you know, some stories from the Bible and so even just some adages that we hear that to make sense out of that, you know, in the mind of a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old.
And it was scary. Like, it was a scary, there's a lot of scary stories in there, but like, I mean, I love the Catholic religion. I love the Bible. I love all of it. Now, as an adult, I can put it in the right place and context and see the beauty in it. But it was scary back then, and it did. There was a certain mentality and way to just, you know, I don't have to be careful with what I say, but like, it felt very, you know, to keep everybody in order, to control the situation, you know, obey all of these rules, you know, and I did. So, but So I thought that was interesting how there's the reference to the different fathers with throughout the book, and really, really interesting character development, how you did all of that and intertwined and brought it all together beautifully. Tell me, so Anna Bishop and her father and her grandmother are all intuitives. So is that, you said that the book is based loosely on your personal story, but then obviously you've elaborated on it. So the intuitive part of it, is that something that you are?
I think so. You know, and any friends of mine that listen to this would say, "Oh, please, just say it," you know.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I think I'm a psychic or anything even close to that. But you know, this thing that happens in life, where we just know what's going to happen next, and it's, you know, it's just it's intuition most of the time.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but there are also times when you see something, before it happens. You dream something, and the next day, there it is. You know, I've gone through that, and it ebbs and flows in
Mm.
my life. I'm not sure why, and sometimes I appreciate it, and sometimes I don't. You know?
Yeah, I think that artists are all intuitive, and I think that it's an easier thing for you to tap into when you
Mm.
are in the world of the creative world, because you're constantly channeling your work, right? You're writing,
Yes.
you're acting, you're painting. It's all a channel. So it doesn't. I mean, it's not anything strange or odd or anything like that. I liked, and I thought it was interesting that you put that into those characters. It just added another dimension to who they were. So,
Yeah. I think,
so when this came out, and when did the book come out?
well, just within the past month, actually. Um, I This is very strange, but I originally wrote this story 20 years ago.
Wow. So it's been
Yeah.
simmering for a long time.
Yeah, and it existed. It's existed, mostly pretty close to the form that it's in for 20 years, and sat untouched, you know, for a very long time. Um, I'm not sure why, but there was a reason for it.
Hmm.
And every so often I would pull it out and I'd look at it, and I might work through some things and change some things, and then I would put it away again. And something about this crazy year that we are in,
I wanted to ask you about that. Hmm.
right? Something about this moment in time, just thrust me forward in this process, and insisted upon this moment.
I I I tell my husband almost on a daily basis that when we get through this, I cannot wait to see the art that comes out of it, because there's so many of my creative friends are all like working on big things because they have time. They have the
Right?
time to do this, and it feels like the world needs it, you know.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Yeah, that's really great. So I saw that it's also, you have it published by a publisher. So what was that process like for someone who is considering maybe writing a book versus self-publishing? You actually
Well,
sent it out.
I so it is actually technically self-published. I did go through KDP on Amazon, and but I have a friend who has some experience with publishing, and so, you know, that's kind of like under his label. You know, this is a hope of his, just kind of move forward in this way and maybe publish some other things. So I was fortunate to have somebody guiding me through that process, but ultimately it's self-published, and it's put on that Amazon platform in that way. So I didn't have to go through those channels. I didn't have to send out a bunch of query letters and wait for responses. or anything like that. But I was grateful to have the help from a friend with some experience.
I think it's great. It's brilliant. I self-published my book a couple of years ago, and I was too impatient to do it any other way. Like, I'm somebody who does a project and I want to finish it and I want to put it out there and I want to go to the next project. So I think the whole world of self-publishing is fantastic and probably the way of the future, because we don't have this like certain little small group of people dictating what we're going to read. Like, everybody gets to put their voice and their story out there.
I so agree. And I know so many other writers who feel the same way. I have friends, who are who have some of those connections, and still they opt to take the self-publishing route because they want to own their own work, and
There's
they want to
that,
it's an
right?
easier process.
Right. Right. And people have platforms now. We have social media. So we have a means to sell the product as well. So it's a changing landscape for sure. Um, but I was going to ask you if you had gone through that route. So that's interesting. I do want to add a little caveat that if you do self-publish, it's no picnic. It's a ton of work, and to understand how things are laid out and editing and woof,
Yeah.
it's a lot. So that's great that you had a friend that was in the space that was willing to help you.
Again, lucky me, right? Because I couldn't have I couldn't have done those things without that support.
Well, we're all in this together, aren't we? And I do
Yeah.
think that people want to support one another, especially when it's a really great project and the book is great. So, um, well, that's just a win-win all around. And if you keep saying lucky me, it's just going to keep getting luckier and luckier. So I think I'm going to change my mantra to that every day. So it's really, really, Diane, it's a really great book. It's seriously the kind of book that I would love to take like on vacation, because it's like a page turner stuff. But since we're in a year-long staycation, it's like the perfect book for right now. It's just great to escape and go somewhere else and be just immersed in this story and these characters. It was really, really fun, and I feel really happy that I got to meet you and I got to read it and experience it. I loved it.
Thank you
So,
so much.
huge endorsement. Everybody, Christmas gifts.
Yay,
Go buy this book.
thank you.
So what's next? Because I do hope that you're going to write some more. And I did have a lingering question about this book. Like, will there be a following up on this book?
It's interesting. I never considered that until this year.
Don't everybody ask you that?
Well, sometimes they do, and I thought, and my answer would always be, "Oh God, no," you know. But there may be some continuation somewhere along the line. I'm not sure. I have some ideas about that, but nothing really in the works. I am working on some other projects though, and God, that's fun. I'm working on another novel. I have so the Goody Goody show that you saw. I'm also working on that as a series of novels.
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
because again, it's like
That
you've
could
got a great
easily
idea.
be a novel for sure. Yes.
Yes, right. And it's actually, the idea just lent itself so naturally to episodic
Yes.
television.
Yes.
But in the same way, it does that. So it's easy to create a series of novels, actually, like book one, book two, season one, season two, and so I've started that endeavor, and that's been fun.
So are you acting? I mean, are you acting? Are you teaching right now? Like, how's this happening with COVID and everything for you?
Yeah, we are actually 100% virtual.
Has it always been that way, or you went virtual this year because of everything?
No, we just went virtual
Oh,
this
okay.
year.
So
Yeah.
you are working on, you're still writing, and then you are working on the Goody Goody, and then you still coach, you're still doing your teaching at high school?
Yes. So yeah, that's my job. That is my full-time job. Teaching at the high school. Um, and yeah, I do that all day, and I'm, on the virtual classroom with my students, and we're doing okay. I mean, we artists are resilient and resourceful.
We take the bounce. We take the bounce and we do something different.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's not ideal. I work with students who are studying theater, which is such a collaboration.
Sure, sure.
We want to be with each other. We want to look each other in the eye and make noise.
Yeah.
But we are finding new ways to keep going, to keep connecting. And soon enough, we will be on the other side of this, and we will be grateful for the work that we did in this moment. I know it.
I know, I mean, I know it's horrible. Like, it's just a devastating thing that's happened, but on many levels, there's been a lot of good things I think that have come out of it. I've seen a lot of people rethink their whole lives and their careers, and focus more on the things that they want to do, like finish the book, or pursue something that's always like, oh, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll get to that, I'll get to that. When it's like, oh, I guess I have time to do it now.
Yes.
So I seriously, I cannot wait to see what comes out of all of this on the other side. But for now, we are hunkered down, doing the work. So as a coach and an educator, or I say coach, acting coach, but if you were talking to one of your students, and they wanted to pursue a life similar to you, like they wanted to be an actor, what would be your best words of advice that you would give to that person? And do you do this to your students? Do you talk to your students and give them advice?
All the time. All the time. I teach 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
Wow.
I have anywhere from 25 to 30 students in each class. It's a lot of kids over a lot of years. I've been there doing that for 18 years.
Wow.
So yes, I do give a lot of advice. And I do try to reflect on my own life and the things that worked and didn't work. And, my best advice for any student, any artist, because although I work with actors and the theater majors, it is an arts high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have visual arts and dance and music and,
Amazing.
all the artists in the building, right? And but the best advice I have for anybody is to just keep going. I think, and I've seen this over my life, knowing so many artists, so many actors. I think so many people arrive at a certain point and go, well, it didn't happen. I hoped by now that I would have a, recurring role on a TV show, or that I would have done a movie, and you think, that's the trap. You think there's an end point, and then you've got to go, well, now I need to give up and go join the real world. But the truth is, you can do it all.
Yeah.
And at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes the job you take, see, again, I didn't set out to be a high school teacher, but that's how it worked out. And so many of these projects that you and I have been talking about, they wouldn't have happened had I not been where I was doing the job I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we call the day job, we artists.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's my day job, and without that day job, I couldn't do the other stuff. So the day job isn't a punishment, it's find a good one, make it work, and keep creating.
And your day job is in what you love to do. So that makes it kind of all go hand in hand. And uh, I think it is okay to be a younger person and being like, well, I got this degree. Now what do I do? Um, to narrow it down to being like, oh, maybe I want to do communications in the arts, and that I want to be in that genre of communications, instead of just taking a job. I think it is helpful that you have that you're immersed in a school that's teaching the arts, and then you are doing that also in other aspects of your life. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I
Not like
again,
you're like a chef at a restaurant and then you're an I don't know,
yeah,
but I think it's
yeah.
helpful to have the balance of the two.
Yeah, and that's advice I give too, to my students, and my daughter, my daughter who is still very young, she's only 12 years old, but you know, I- I'm always asking questions because I want her to find that that thing that makes her soul
Mhm,
sing,
mhm,
that source of joy. And it's in that source of joy, you follow that, right? And that, and then there are all kinds of careers, all kinds of jobs for us to have in this life. But if you're following the thing that brings you joy, you're going to figure it out.
mhm. Yeah, I did that with my three daughters as well. I mean, they all ended up being artists in one way or form, but they definitely do different aspects of different things in their lives. And I didn't have that upbringing. Like I was told that don't be an artist, you can't make a living. That whole story was told to me. Believe me, I wanted to be an actress, I wanted to be a dancer, I wanted to do all of it. um, that was something I remembered that I didn't, and rightfully so. Like I had a depression era father who was just like, get a real job, that be stable, be secure, that made sense for his life experience. But for me, I was a creative and always have been.
Mhm.
So that um, not valuing, growing up with the arts not being valued. But now I find it so interesting that here we are in this time where I'm going to circle this around, I promise you, where we're all in our homes staring at our walls. And it's like, wow, isn't art kind of important? Isn't the interior of the space kind of important? Because I'm in here all the time and it's affecting my mood. And gosh, what am I going to watch? Aren't these shows, is this form of entertainment, this music, isn't this all really important right now?
Yes. And it's
And
so,
so like to foster the arts is important. And it was a long road for me to finally get there and figure that out. And I just love that you're sparking that with your daughter, that you're not telling her like you should be a nurse or a doctor. I mean, those are really important jobs, but if that sets your soul on fire, then go do that.
right. It's interesting too in this situation we're in right now, and in 2020, there's I know so many people are suffering, not being able to connect, feeling very restless.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I also know a lot of people uh, who are artists and creatives who are not suffering
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because they have that thing. They have a quiet moment to come up with ideas. When I was a kid, um, my grandfather, he's a painter, and he could build anything. I just have such wonderful memories of him. Like if somebody needed a piece of furniture, he'd go out to the garage, and in 2 days he'd emerge with some beautiful piece of furniture. And or he just there was always a painting that was in the works. And there was such peace in that. I remember being a child and going out to his workshop and just wanting to sit in there while he did whatever. Didn't matter what it was. There was some feeling that was happening there.
Mhm.
And I knew it. I sensed it. And
Right. And
I'm
that was it was a slower time. It wasn't, we've been so wrapped in this internet and the speed and got to have faster downloads and da, 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 it's like consume more information. And then all of a sudden it was like halt, screeching halt. And it was like, hey, read a book. Do that painting collection you've been wanting to do for years, and I mean that's like I kid you not, I have not read a novel in years. It's always been something I'm studying or getting educated about or something, like to just sit and read a book for fun. I was like,
Oh,
I'm like, I need to do this more often.
that's so cool. Yeah.
And I also need to set a timer on my phone because I'm like, are you kidding me? It's 5 hours. I haven't moved in 5 hours. I need to stretch. Well, this is really great, Diane. Just such a pleasure. And I knew you would be so wonderful to get to speak with. And I just really, really appreciate this. And I will put all of the information in the show notes on where they can get your fabulous book and follow you on Instagram. And yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. It's been so nice talking with you. This is I love your show, and I love listening to all of the interviews that you do. So we relate,
Yes.
So this is really good stuff, Mari. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.